Arriving back at Seaquen, the lot of you, you find that the city is different, but still largely the same. The city's rebuilding. It's much better shape now than it was weeks ago when you guys had left it. Yeah, get yourself... snap out of characters a minute.
Myetharia, yeah.
The cold has broken. Cold has broken, and Seaquen is getting balmy compared to where you just left. The outskirts of town, much more built up than they were before. There's many houses of stone and wood where there were tents previously. The lines of tents are slowly dissipating into full structures as the outskirts becomes less shantytown and more just outer city.
Town.
As you make it back into town, you have a few minutes, if you would like to check on whatever you'd like, or you can report straight back to Simeon at Lyceum as you were instructed to do so. But if you'd like to check in on anything, you can feel free to do that first.
I'm gonna have someone make my armor.
If I could make a suggestion that we just check in with Simeon and then do all our
do that afterwards.
Session. Because otherwise, we could get like one conversation in and then wrap.
Well, heading back to Lyceum then, people are excited and pleased to see you coming back. You get a couple of excited school goers, whatever, who kind of like, oh, protectors, they're back. They've made it back. You know, this sort of comments. As word has passed a little bit that your mission was a success and people were looking forward to having you guys come back. After just a short... Yeah, right. After a short few minutes, you find yourself in front of Headmaster Simeon once more. There is... Yes, Simeon, looking out the broad window at the harbor. Behind him, Kiernan is also there, the defense minister of Lyceum. He kind of clears his throat to get Simeon's attention, and he notices that you guys are here. And the last one in the room is Katrina, actually.
Nice.
Actually, not the last one. Sorry, Katrina's there. She has with her someone that you've only seen once, a brown-skinned stranger, a man that you would recognize now, especially Rob, as he has the tattoo of wings coming around his head to the back, as 3 weeping ravens sits next to Katrina in the room.
You guys remember that guy?
Yes.
Good thing you just mentioned him.
I'm glad I got it in, because otherwise Justin would be like, Rob never said.
You got the name in just in time.
Yep, it was the last thing I said. I got it in there.
Simeon says, well, before we get too far along, I will say I do have some things. First, we have a mission and some thoughts for what you may perhaps be up to next. But before we get to that, I do also have some help, some thanks, and some bonus perhaps for your work so far. I know that it is difficult what we ask, and therefore I do my best to outfit my parties, my groups that I'm using, to the best of their abilities. I want to make sure that I'm not sending out these men and women to the wolves without the best that the Lyceum has to offer. As such, I have spent the last few weeks preparing some items for you of interest. First, I'm going to go through this kind of in a list because it's going to be way easier, and I definitely wrote these all out beforehand. The first thing that he can do is reaching out towards Winry. He takes a look at her bracelet, her bangle, the living weapon that's around her wrist. And he says, I believe that I can unlock a little bit more of its potential. So he reaches out towards it. And Winry, I don't know if you've had a chance to look at it yet, but there are... Oh, I talked with you about it.
Yeah.
Never mind. There's a little bit of bonus now for the living blade, as it has been unlocked a little bit further. Revensol for you. Sorry, Rayland for you.
Revensol.
He looks confused momentarily. yes, okay, whatever you say. For you, either way, I have a choice. I have a suite of poisons that you can choose to take with you, or I have these gloves that will assist in your actions, your past, so to speak. If you would like to listen, they're called gloves of thievery. I try to be discreet as much as I can, but sometimes it's just easiest to go straight forward.
Always
You know
best
me.
to be direct.
What's in the poison kit?
Whole suite of poisons, various ones.
I was still looking forward to the old lady voice.
I think this in this
Sorry.
case,
Right.
I'm gonna take the poisons, if you don't
Okay.
mind.
Absolutely. I'm
Thank
sure
you.
that there are others that get use out of the gloves. In fact, I have someone in mind already. That's why it was your choice.
Who? Not the Tabaxi, huh?
My assistant? Or do you
Well-
mean Winry?
I mean, she doesn't need any help.
I do have a name.
My goodness.
No, not to Winry, don't you worry. Jack, if you don't mind, I have this for you. And he takes out a sword that is wrapped in cloth, and he kind of proffers it to you. Kind of hilt first. Just the hilt is showing out the bottom. Says, be careful with this. I want you to maintain as much as you can within it. But I do fear that power is required sometimes.
Well, thank you, Headmaster. I think I've come to agree with you. And I'll put my hand on the sword, on the hilt, and take it.
As you do, you feel a slight stroke on the back of your neck almost, and you hear in the back of your mind a voice. It says, someone new. Interesting.
No way.
Simeon.
He looks towards Myetharia instead afterwards.
What the fuck, man?
Says, for you, I have some work that's been being done, actually. It will require your swords, though, if you do not mind me taking them for a moment. Or you can bring them, in fact. They just need to put the final touches on the enchantments.
All right. How long will I be without them?
You can go with if you would like. It will merely take maybe an hour, I think, of your time, if you would not mind.
Of course. I don't mind at all.
But
Thank
you
you.
will have to make a choice when you get there.
A choice.
Well, 'tis your choice what element they are infused with.
Ah, I see what you mean. Thank you.
One way or the other. I will let you make the final decision here, but fear the time for your swords to be upgraded has long since passed. And I'm sorry that it has come at such a delay.
No, it's quite all right. They have felt a bit lacking of late, but they've served me well. Thank you.
And Bryn, unfortunately, bereft of materials for anything for you. I wish there was more that I could give. I've already given you something, unfortunately. That's the limit of my abilities currently. We're a little strapped for suitable materials.
Well, I kind of have an idea. If I don't know what you can do, but when we were in Oh, what's the name of the town? The big one?
Breast?
Bresk.
And Gallows Fend. I remembered that, or on our way to Bresk, we fought a
Remoraz.
The
A Remoraz. It was like a centipede-like creature. But I believe Jack had the good idea of taking some of its scales. And when we were in Gallows Fend, I was going to make armor with it, but they were all, kind of distracted. So I don't know,
Don't
maybe
say.
just maybe just fund making this into armor for me, please.
Not only will I fund it, but I will put our greatest artificers and blacksmiths upon it immediately. My only question for you, and he kind of turns over these, I'm assuming you show them to him.
Yeah.
He kind of turns over these scale plates in his hand and says, it's as hard as steel. My only real question is what to make. Tell me, how much would you like for your plate? Would you only like a chest piece? A half plate? Or full?
Oh, jeez. I think only a chest piece, but I'd have to look it up.
Breastplate, half plate, plate armor. Your choice.
I was gonna say, I love the way that
Heavy armor.
Dustin asks questions in character.
Yeah.
You could
I'm
do
a-
plate armor.
I'm a cleric. So what was it? Half full.
Breastplate, half plate, plate armor. You can feel free to take that question and consider it and get back with me before next session.
Yep. Okie dokie.
Well,
Thank you.
I think that is all that I have for you. I hope that it will be useful in your coming endeavors. And speaking of them, unless you have specific questions, we might as well move right along. We've gotten
Indeed.
some information back recently. We've been sending out some other parties beyond just yours. Some of which have gone well, some of which have not necessarily, but one way or the other, we're learning. That's the important part. And well, we haven't died yet, but doing well enough, I guess. While our agents are doing their best to gain us allies against the Regessians, I'm afraid all our trouble might be for nothing. Kiernan draws out a scroll case. Within it contains a map of the region, and I'm going to kind of pull you guys over to the map here as well a second. He points out locations as he speaks. Says, this information's all less than a week old, courtesy of sending spells. The third Regessian army is, by your information, going to be stalled here in Dassin. The fourth Regessian army is flanking around the mountains into northern Shahalesti, up here.
Want to ping that again? Oh, up where that's a break. Yeah.
The forces.
The western Regessian navy is currently blockading the capital city of Sindar, while the remains of the first army, which was with Coltung when he died, are scattered around Sindar as well. They're trying to find a way into Castle Korstal, it seems, or at least that's the intelligence that we got back. Castle Korstal, which you may or may not know, was where the Emperor was slain. It's our
Can
best
you
guess.
say the name of the castle one more time? I'm sorry.
Korstal. I will put it in chat for you.
I want to say that
It's
Fallon
roughly
actually
here.
mentioned it to us in passing before we left Seaquen.
We've
He
heard of
mentioned
it.
the torch.
It's our best guess as to where the Torch of the Burning Sky now lays. However, a firestorm has appeared over the castle. It's been burning for several months now. None can get in. Meanwhile, and he looks up towards Myetharia as he says this, the Second Regessian army has taken Gate Pass, but is having trouble holding it. The amount of resistance they're facing gives us hope that we can still be of some use to them. But it's also worrying, since it is the one place the Regessians are actively trying to hold territory. We're still
it
not
holds
sure
the
of their
most-
goals there. Sorry,
It simply holds the most power,
perhaps.
most ground.
Still not sure of their goals there, but we are certain, all but certain at least, that the Regessians' primary goal is covering as much land as possible, searching for the torch.
Mm-hmm.
Katrina takes over. After the hurricane, we sent agents to investigate one of the leads left after you saved the day. A clue which suggested the Regessians weren't working alone. 5 young men and women headed to the Monastery of Two Winds. It's this order of magic-using monks on the border of Ostelin and Dassin who are skilled with wind magic.
So we've heard of it.
We've received reports every day on their way to the monastery, but then all communication ceased. Their last message mentioned that they would be staying in Erish that night, a small town in the valley near the monastery. Since then, we've heard nothing.
What was the name of the town?
Erish.
That name before.
Eresh. You have heard that name before.
The question is, does Cassie remember that she's heard that name before?
Of course. She better.
Kiernan points at the map again. It's only a short distance from the monastery to Castle Corstal. I lost my place. But we are curious why the Regessians were attacking the monastery, especially if they were allies. One divination we performed returned this result. And he pulls open his little sheet of paper, reading it directly. It says, "No single wind can destroy the torch's fire, but a second wind could be its ruin." Paste that for you. Simeon smiles, says, "The way I interpret it is that since the monastery's heads are skilled with wind magic, they have the power to clear away the firestorm long enough for a group to get to the castle and retrieve the torch, or to find out where it was taken. Whatever has happened to it, nobody's using it. But whoever gets their hands on it will have the power to end this war in a matter of days." Katrina gestures now to the last member in the room, 3 Weeping Ravens. Says, 3 Weeping Ravens here traveled with his people across the mountains and through Ostelin to reach Seaquen. He's had dealings with the monks of the Two Winds before. You've actually met the masters of the monastery, correct? 3 Weeping Ravens nods gently. They refused our plea for sanctuary. They were not hostile. They simply did not want to attract the attention of the Regessians.
If it makes you feel any better, they reject good people all the time.
Simeon says, "Regardless, you're the closest we have to an inn with them, and you know the way to the monastery. If the monastery falls into the Regessians' hands, we will all be in danger. But if we save them from the Regessians, well, then maybe they'll be willing to lend us aid. It's a nice balanced arrangement. We cannot afford to pass up this opportunity. So, I'm asking you to go assist the monks and find out what happened to our other party."
Oh,
Questions first?
while we're honored to be considered for this mission, I'll turn to Winry. Winry, are you okay with doing this?
Yeah, I think so. I don't know them well, but I have been there before, so it might be helpful.
I guess I mean, are you comfortable going back there?
Yeah, definitely. My family lives nearby, so maybe we can pay them a visit when we're finished.
Oh,
Insight check on whether she's actually confident on that answer or not?
Sure, go for
Guess it's like, I don't know.
Not
I
good.
don't know.
Get to meet Mr. and Mrs. Mountain Peak. That would be very fun.
I only rolled a 12, so whatever.
You're both quiet
You
and
know what
somber
I'm
people.
it.
Yeah.
Tell.
They're really grumpy.
Yeah.
Winry, why'd you bring all these people to our house?
You're always doing this. Bringing
Oh,
people
your
over.
friends.
Bring in
This isn't
puppies.
like this isn't like one of your circuses, Winry. This is a home.
Well, you can travel overland if you would like, but time is precious. And I've arranged a meeting with the leader of the Wayfarers, Cirque, Sheena Larkins. She's a native of Ostalin. And we hope to be able to teleport you nearby.
Without hurting us?
Not hurting you too much, at least.
Enjoy.
Huh.
What we've learned is that while the fire is strong, it can be resisted. So we will load you up with as much fire resistance as we can figure out. And we've been able to, well, she has been able to survive similar trips, so I hope that you will be similarly strong.
Long-term studies on the effects of fire-resistant potions in
Any
large
double-blind studies
in large
conducted.
quantities, because we've been drinking those like candy.
That sounds fun, and I think we've all had enough of traveling by foot. So let's try another way.
Well, we will not only be protecting you from the flames, we will also send you with some healing potions each, so that when you arrive, you can quaff them quickly. Make sure that everyone is arriving safely.
Grateful.
Cool.
Thank you.
Sounds fun.
I hope we'll be of aid
That
to you with this.
meeting is in 2 days. So you have a day. Rest, recover, do what else you need to do around town. Bryn, we shall have a discussion about your armor. Myetharia, whenever you get a chance, stop by the artificers. They'll be glad to complete your enchantments. And Rayland, Revensoul, if you don't mind, take a look through the poisons. I'm sure you will be pleased. Until then, if you have questions, I am available at any time.
I have a question for the DM.
Of course.
What does the sword that he gave me look like?
I will give you a nice picture of it if you'd like in a little bit.
Okay.
Give me a moment to find a good one.
Yeah, no worries.
Meg,
What was that?
any word about the whereabouts of Eamon Meg?
I have not heard anything myself. Unfortunately, no. Last that we have heard, he escaped with his manservant prior to the storm. He went west. After that, trail vanishes, as far as I know.
Well,
The rough idea of the sword that I'm trying to find is it is a like black steel blade almost, where it's really like a dark gray basically, and it has red stylized lines through it that almost look like etchings of flame.
Ooh.
Trying to find a good one for you.
Dope.
Does Jack tell us that it's talking to him?
I think Jack would assume that he, like, someone
Everybody
else
could hear.
was like talking or something, or that too. Yeah, it doesn't have any. Like you heard the voice, and he was like, "Shh, Headmaster's talking."
Love it.
Can't find a good one with red etching.
I mean, I have questions, but none that are pertinent, like right now. Stuff we can maybe cover next time before we start. Or
Absolutely.
before we dive in.
We will certainly meet again in order to get to the the teleportation together and everything. So bring your questions. I will bring the answers.
You wouldn't happen to have anybody that would be able to cast a spell that would be able to regenerate, say, muscle or tissue, or take a look at.
It's
My
like,
knee has been not the same since getting tortured by an Inquisitor. He cut out something and it won't come back.
Well, interesting. Kind of was giving you a little bit of a once-over. That is not a specialty of mine, unfortunately. I tend towards the divination arts personally. There's a few people that might be of use. Typically, healing spells fall under the purview of evocation magic, so Bright and Koopa might be a good place to start. Although, I feel like that spell specifically may fall under transmutations. Maybe Brahmin Vet might be better. Also, you could try a druidic instructor. Tikashayam could also be a possibility for you. Any of them could be feasible, though I'm unsure if any of them have the reach.
Yeah, I'm familiar with all of those professors you just named, and I don't know. I could try one of them, see if something's changed since I've last been here. But yeah, thanks for trying.
Of course. I mean, I'll keep my ears out. I'll put out feelers for you if you'd like.
Yeah, because I remember I am from Seaquen, so I know all those professors. I forgot. Yeah.
I can go with you, Rev, if we want to check in again. Maybe they can teach me something or to help.
Sure, but Justin, go ahead and jump in and just we can fast forward through Bryn and Rev going and checking out.
Don't want to dwell on it.
Yeah, I don't want to dwell on it. We should probably move the story along.
Well, the quick upshot then would be you can visit each of these three people if you'd like to. Typical healing does fall under the purview of Brighton Cooper technically, but it's not really his main focus. Regenerate being transmutation magic technically would fall under Bonham Vet's purview. But it is beyond his abilities, and even that of Tika Shayam as well. It is just out of reach for them. It is
So
too strong of magic.
They each take a look at my knee and
they do their best. They try different
Yeah.
things, but unfortunately, no magical healing that they can provide is sufficient to mend the wound.
grow back the tendon that has been removed.
Each of them considers it something of a personal slight that they are unable to provide assistance that you'd requested.
Hey, it's not a big deal. Don't worry about it.
Do better next time.
I will catch Katrina before we leave and just ask her how her brother's doing.
I've heard from him every now and then. It's been tough in Gate Pass, from what I've heard.
So he's still there.
He's in the area, at least. He didn't want to give too many specifics, just in case being listened to or anything. So
Understandable.
last I had heard, he was somewhere on the Shahalesti side of things a little bit. But they are making inroads daily, it sounds, into supply lines towards weeding out the Regessians out of Gate Pass.
I'm sure they're putting up a good fight. They always have.
Doing what they can. Not as much as I know.
Thank you.
If everybody splits off, I'll wait until they leave, and then I'll double back and go into the office. Headmaster, what?
My hair.
Yeah. Headmaster, first of all, thank you so much for all of these items to keep us on the cutting edge of battle, if you will. I don't mean to look gift Axbeak in the mouth, but where... That's a D&D monster. Where did
Nerd.
this sword come from?
Does its origins concern you?
Is anyone else in the room?
I would imagine that Kiernan is still around.
So I'll kind of lean closer to the headmaster, try to like shoulder out Kiernan and be like, I'm not certain, but I feel like it may have spoken to me. Swords don't normally do that, I think.
He looks at you with kind of a knowing smile. Says, yes, I would imagine that it might have.
Well, do you know who possessed it before me? Do you know anything about it?
Hasn't been found for a long time, if I would say so. It's been, wow. It's that cold over there, huh?
No, it's
No.
not.
Just coffee.
She's gonna be sweating by the time
Yeah.
the session's over.
Like literally burning.
So, that sword was found relatively recently, deep within arcane storehouses that were located. It was actually brought to us by some refugees. When I took it up, or inspected it, perhaps better, I realized the potential that it held. And I could see no greater use than in your hands.
I see. Well, thank you very much for thinking of me. And I'll let you know what I discover.
Well,
No, give him a nod and start heading my way out.
So the whole group has that evening that you guys arrived back, a full day the next day, and then the next day after that would be the day that you are set to leave. So you have one, at least, full day to consider, prepare, and rest as much as you'd like to, whatever you'd like to do. So I don't know how much we want to hang about, what you guys would like to do in that day and a half, but I leave it open for anyone to do anything that they would like.
I send a message to Ida, however many it takes between the night before and the day. How are you? I've heard that Gate Pass has been taken. Are you still in the city? Are you safe? How's the family?
Ida's your sister, right?
Yes. She'll respond back with, we've been displaced temporarily. Couldn't risk staying in the city and being found out. Not with father. So we've actually started southwards. Do you know the forest is no more?
It comes through in the message, me laughing. Yeah. That was me and those that I'm with.
No, you should take full credit.
I guess
Single-handedly.
We've done a lot. Are you headed to Seaquen or to Bresk?
We found a nice place called Cornerwood. We've set up here for now.
No, I'm sorry. It's like right there.
Oh.
We stayed there.
Yeah, it's like there, roughly.
Yeah.
We stayed there one night.
Okay.
It allows my
We're-
husband to still be active when he can be.
We're in Seaquen. The resistance is strong here. So there's always work for him. Keth is in. He came down to. He's in Gallows Fen. If you wanted to head that way. We're headed to Ostalin next on a mission with the Resistance. Not Ostalin, Cinder.
No, well, Ostalin initially, yes.
Okay. Who's all with you?
Oh boy, gonna make me stretch here a little bit. Huh?
Oh yeah, I guess I could look it up. You could list.
You could tell him who's with her.
I guess I'm just searching if.
Oh, you're looking to see if your man is with him?
Yeah.
Why don't you just ask that?
Cuz?
I guess that's how Bryn would handle it.
Yeah, get off my dick. Parents, Brent.
So yes, with her would be Jorah, her
Brothers.
husband.
Yeah.
Your mother and father, Ollie and Maggie.
Brother Dench and his family.
Dench.
Damn, I thought I named a lot of NPCs.
Babe, in the last campaign, I couldn't remember my family's name or last name.
Yeah, we don't remember what it is either.
Sedley. I don't know why I remember it.
What?
That's the last name.
I don't know if we ever heard that
Yep,
last one.
Cora Sedley. Yep. Yes, I think Dench and his wife, if he has a wife, I'm not actually
Yeah,
sure.
he has a
Looking through
family.
this quickly,
I didn't go that far, but yeah, he has a family.
as I'm looking, would also be with there, and actually, yes, Brent would also be with them.
Ooh.
Okay.
As well as additional members from the village, so to speak, or from the countryside.
So I guess we're going to Cornerwood, huh?
No.
Got some ass to kick.
Drama.
Okay, so
That's the juicy stuff.
if you, I'll keep touch. Let me know if you need anything.
I'll let you know if Jorah uncovers anything.
Thank you. It's like a cell phone call. I had enough spells left.
You,
As long as you don't put us in a
I'm
fight.
sure you're fine.
Sequin.
I'll go find
Dragon shows up
Bryn.
out of nowhere. Shit!
I'll
Green
take this one out,
Dragon's
guys.
back, vengeance.
my friend.
Myetharia's gonna go see Bryn the evening of the last day, like when they're going to bed, and just say, do you have any more? Can you cast a spell for me? Can you cast Ascending?
Probably one or two.
I think I only need one. I was just wondering if you would check in with Shalosha again, just to see if she has any updates. I'm sure she's busy. We didn't really get much from the last time we messaged, so just curious to see if there's any more news. I'm sure there's not.
Do you want me to tell her where we're headed
Um,
and
Sure.
what we're doing?
yes, you can. I suppose you can say we're going to Ostalin. Don't mention the torch, I suppose. I'm not entirely sure yet what benefit it would what it may or may not have, what benefit it may or may not have to her or her father. But I suppose we'll just keep that to ourselves for now.
Okay, so I'll say, hello, princess. We're back from Bresk and headed to Ostalin. Any news for Myetharia from your front?
The army's made it to the eastern gates. We've begun our work here. A dragon roosts in Gate Pass now. Makes things a little more interesting. Let her know we're safe. Let her know I'm safe. Good luck in Ostalin.
I relay that. And then send a message to Eden say, there's a dragon in Gate Pass? That important to share?
For the record, I decided that she and her family wouldn't know that just yet because of them fleeing.
She messages back, there's a dragon in Gate Pass?
Yeah, I was like, wait, what? Jorah's not going anywhere near there anymore.
We're headed to Seaquen.
Right, go back to Gate Pass, quick.
Thank you, Bryn.
Of course.
For what it's worth, you could also tell that Shalosha sent that a little bit tongue-in-cheek. I hope that came through in my inflection. The whole, there's a dragon there. There's a little bit of a real, but like a, I don't know, telling it almost as a joke in a way. Like, look
Roll
at
of the
us,
eyes.
we got a dragon, kind of thing. It wasn't like a, oh god, it's a dragon,
Ominous,
please save me.
Ominous.
Yeah.
Please save me.
Does Rev have anything?
Trying to think of something, but I mean, he'll probably just catch up with his crew. Maybe he'll go down to the Royale.
So I did specifically write down that Tommen has taken over the harbor master role for you, in case you're curious.
I was going to check in with
He
Tommen,
is-
actually. Yeah.
He is now the leader of the harbor here, taking over Lee's old post. So he has been very busy. He
did.
looks more tired than you've ever seen him before, but at the same time, he looks content.
I'll congratulate him.
As things are finally getting back under control, and after the whole, hurricane typhoon situation, and so the harbor has been being rebuilt a little bit, and he's been overseeing all of that work. So it's been busy.
Does he
he's
do
been
magic
having
at all,
fun.
or is he just a normal guy?
He's a normal dude.
All right.
Just
Cool.
a dude.
He's
I
a
love to see
bro.
that. You love to see it. Doesn't always have to
You
be
love
some.
to see it.
It doesn't always have to be some like magic person in charge of like important posts all over.
Well, specifically, also, his role in a way has been purposefully taken by non-magic user now after the previous events. And so he was the understudy to begin with, and it was beneficial to have someone who might be a little bit more under control. I don't want to quite say those words, but if that makes sense.
I can kind of imagine the conversation going a little bit like, Rayland, it's Rev now.
Yeah.
Listen, I don't really have time for this, dude. Anyway, yeah.
Yeah, checks
Cool.
out.
Outside
Winry
of
have
that,
anything?
the other interesting thing that I can mention is the Royale is fairly empty. And if you start talking to people there, especially like maybe someone who is serving drinks, something like this. They can mention that most of the adventuring parties that had kind of filled up space here got sent on missions for Seaquen.
He didn't happen to say anything about a certain goblin. There's a certain goblin that's hanging out at the.
They would
This
be coming
alligator.
back tonight. So if you went there the next day, then yes, Boudrox could be there if you'd
But
like
we're
to have
leaving- but we're
yourself
leaving,
meet
right?
yourself. The second day. They were coming back the second day you guys would be there, not the day you're leaving.
Hey, if you want to wait and see your friend, we can wait another day. You know.
No, it's fine. He doesn't know. He doesn't. He doesn't know Boudrox. There's no like.
Never the
He might have seen him. He might have.
What did I
He
miss
did
again?
spend. He did spend some time at the Royale, so he might have like passing acquaintance with Boudrox and his alligator, but there's no familiarity there.
Well,
Still up
I'd
there.
be surprised if you'd seen him before, because another thing that I wrote just for this would be if you guys went to South Harbor for any reason, you would find that there's a goblin walking through town who looks kind of awkward, but is trading at the stalls nonetheless. As it's a newfound thing for them to be able to come into town and trade.
Oh yeah,
Aw.
you're right. So he's not familiar with Boudrox then. That's a good point.
Awesome.
Boudrox has only just started hanging out at the Royale.
Yep, it was a big deal that he kind of came out, met people at the Royale, and then got picked up for a mission right away.
Yeah.
Aw.
That is really cool. I mean, we
If I
really
don't have
just
anything
wanted the
else.
worlds to collide of you doing both those voices, because man, what a swap!
No,
Some
we
other
don't.
things.
No, we don't deserve that.
Your voice.
We don't. No, we don't.
Some other things that I wrote down is that Torrent, if you guys went to go search for her, she's been sent off on a mission. Though the specifics of what, unclear. Kristen has been hard at work, keeping peace, building cooperation. She was asked by Simeon to go on a mission, but she turned him down, citing the immediate need to keep things pleasant around Seaquen as well, and not just
Oh.
further away.
For the record, I was going to drop by and see her. I was very curious.
Children is also gone.
Iljan is off until tomorrow. Yeah, I mean, if you guys came the next day, she could tell you all about her mission that she went on, excitedly.
I'd love to hear Cassie do that, but
That would be easier though.
It's more
They're not-
similar.
They're not too different, those two.
It's true.
And then beyond that, the only last thing I needed was Bryn for you. Your armor,
Oh, okay. I told you when we left it was a chest plate.
breastplate.
Already
Okay, I
added
wanted
it.
to make sure because I wanted to go through it once to make sure that it got put in.
You did it last week.
I wasn't sure if
Oh,
we'd
last week you were
finalized that.
deciding it. I
in
thought you
or
were still
after.
deciding if it was plate or not.
Yeah. Either way, sounds good. I don't think this actually made it in the session, but I want to make sure that it didn't. For Rev's potion or poison, that's what I wanted. Satchel. We did change how it worked between last week and this week. So if you were paying attention and if it made it into the recording last week, scrap how it worked then, and we'll find out how it works when you use it.
Fair enough.
Exciting.
Cool. So now I don't have to edit it out of the previous one.
Yep,
because you
just in
cleared it
case.
up. Just save me some work. I appreciate it. Is there anything Winry wants to do?
I was just wondering, do I notice anything strange about Jack and the sword that Simeon gave you? I thought it was weird that he gave you a sword.
Same. Is you like having lots of alone time with the sword?
Well, Jack.
dark corners.
Yeah. So as everyone kind of splits off, I go in and talk to Simeon, and then I come out of Simeon's office, and yeah, I want to find like a broom closet or something under the stairs, and just like get in there and like wedge the door as best I can. I actually want it to be a broom closet. I'm gonna say that. So I like open the door and like some mops fall over, so I push them back and scooch them over and go in there and close the door.
Can I try to listen to him?
Oh, jeez.
Well, we had left before and he talked to Simeon, so were you waiting like outside?
Oh, okay.
I'm not against it. If she wants
Make
to
a perception check. Let's see. Let's find out.
I'm gonna be this guy. I'm gonna roll with disadvantage because I'm real
Because
focused.
you're really excited
No, I'm concerned.
in your room closet.
Perfectly, Frank. I rolled terrible. I rolled a 5 and a 7. My perception sucks. So, oh, I'm not that bad. 9. Still not great. So, I'll go into the broom closet and like shove something in the door. And I imagine the sword kind of like wrapped in like a cloth or something so that I can only like touch the handle of it. So I'll take the cloth off and I'll like unsheath it and kind of like set it in my hand and I'll say, can you hear me?
In the back of your mind, you hear a little bit of a chuckle. Yes.
Hey, very warm greetings. My name is Jack. It's good to meet you. Not really sure what to call you. Pointy, slashy, swordy.
Call me what you will. Does not me.
How am I talking to you right now? I've never heard of a talking sword before.
Well, currently you're speaking out loud, though there's no need to.
Oh shit. All right. I don't say this out loud, but I think like this. Don't think about the fact that you have to fart. Don't think about that. Don't think about it.
It's okay, I don't have olfactory senses.
Oh, let her rip. Oh, good.
If it makes you feel any better. Yeah, see Winry on the other side of the door, just all of a sudden.
There's just silence in the room.
It gets really quiet and I just rip a fart.
Her she sniffs and her fur like stands on end like a cat. Like it's like.
When she hears the sound, she gets a little hop.
Yeah, little.
It gets quiet and she leans further into the door and really listens. Her what?
As if it makes you feel any better, though. I can only hear when you intentionally think something to me.
Okay,
Not all the time.
Definitely tried to keep that part in. What do we do now? I know we can talk to each other.
We can.
I imagine you're not just a sword then. Are you a person?
Person is a interesting word. Do not think that I am a person. I am a entity, you could say. I give such great answers, don't I? Don't worry.
Well, I guess I'm glad to have you along. I've been working on my swordsmanship recently, and been feeling like I have more of a responsibility to defend myself and protect the others around me. So I guess we can have a good partnership doing that, huh?
Listen, You draw me around your enemies, and I will do the rest of the work. Your muscles don't matter as much as my will does.
Well, I have a strong will as well, so I think that's good. Good, we'll work together. Good. Have you worked with others before me?
I've talked with plenty of others. It's been a long time since I have truly found a bond.
Well, if we're bonded now, then if you don't mind me asking, what
Are we
do you
bonded?
get? Oh, I assumed the way you said that, I thought we were. I mean, what
We
would
can
you
be.
get out? What would you get out of us being bonded?
Well, I get the ability to influence the world once more.
Cool. Excellent. I also want to do that. Bless you. Great. Well, yeah, all right, how does this bond thing work? What do we do?
An interesting question that I didn't really consider for some reason.
Looking up the subclass description real quick.
Yeah.
It's not very specific in the book.
Okay, that's what I was more wondering was, did I need to conform to anything, or can I have fun with this
No.
myself?
Go nuts, baby.
Well, draw me. Take me out and set me on your lap.
Okay. So kind of like there's like crates, like mops. So I put the sword in the sheath and set it down somewhere, and I like move those out of the way. So when we just hears like,
Yeah, just
swing the
out of
crates
nowhere.
over. A few mops like fall on my head, like rolls of toilet paper or whatever. Because they definitely had toilet paper.
That's what I was gonna say.
Good old
And
log roll.
I make just as big of a space as I need, and cross my legs and draw the sword again and set it in my lap. And I go, okay, now what? But I say that out loud, and I'm like, oh wait, and then I think it. Now what?
Run your hand along the edge.
I'll look at it kind of nervously because it looks really sharp.
Hard enough to break the skin.
Okay.
Blood is essential for a pack.
I imagine the sword is flat on my lap like that, so I kind of flip it up so the edge is pointing up. And I'll be like, and I'll kind of take a deep breath. Like I'll just go, for the listeners, just with one finger. And I'll take a deep breath, and I'll open my hand up and place it down on the blade and run my hand along it.
And feel deep in your mind like this this breath it taken. I know you couldn't hear that because the mic isn't going to pick me up breathing really deeply, but
I saw the mouth movement, so it works.
it's a really deep, like, sigh, almost like this release of tension, this release of apprehension. And as it does so, you feel this disembodied voice become a little bit more visceral in the back of your mind, a little bit more cognizant, a little bit more there. And you also know it. There's a name in your head now that wasn't there before. The name, I'm assuming, hasn't changed,
No, I haven't changed it.
is Parallax. You can feel it in the back of your mind. You know it to be the name for this sword, this entity, this thing. It says, I've waited so long. Well, good news for you. You can call on me now. can call my magic through the sword. Don't use another implement anymore. You don't need that silly music. That's too harsh. The music serves a purpose still. Don't let me lie. But my power comes from a different side now. Channel me through the sword. You shall see what I can do.
Kind of like shaking my hand because it hurts.
You notice though, once you slid your sword, once you slid your hand along it, and the blood kind of dripped.
I did not use that part. I used my hand.
The blood kind of dripped a little bit across the red of the sword.
Cassie liked that one.
Your hand very quickly sealed back up. It didn't stay open from the sword. It like resealed shortly after your hand released from the sword. There's still like a line across your palm, just a little bit of a furrow that wasn't there before. The sword itself, when you reach out to touch it, is dry.
Did you yelp when you cut yourself?
I definitely did like one of those, like that. No,
Not
I probably
something
made more noise than that. I was probably like, "Ooh, ow!"
Well, now we are connected. The other fun for you. There's no need for me to be here anymore. You can call me at will.
Oh. That's convenient.
If you like the feel of the sword at your waist, feel free. But I am more than just the sword.
So I'll like holding it kind of like as it's talking to me, I will kind of think about it for a second. And I think to it, go away?
You hear a laugh in the back of your mind a little bit. Little chuckle from the sword itself.
Not in a bad way, like, stay, but I want to understand what you're talking about.
Of course, no word.
No, I didn't mean anything personal by it. It's really good to talk to you. You seem
in like a puff of smoke, it just dissipates into almost like a smoky mist, which evaporates.
No. Come back.
As soon as you like hold out your hand, like you can hold it like that. That's fine. It just
for
as
now,
soon as you want it, you think about it, you want it back for just a moment. It plunk, the weight reappears in your hand. It's like a very slight sheen of mist on it at first that quickly evaporates into the normal atmosphere as well.
Doesn't beat.
It ain't
What was
that.
Doesn't take 10 heartbeats.
No, not 10 heartbeats, but it probably seems similar to that.
Yeah, I got your reference. It was cute.
Depending on how fast your heart is going, I guess, because it does take an action, I believe.
My heart be going real fast. Well, as it's in my hands, I'll go, well, I bond with people I make bonds with people. I like talking to people and connecting with them all the time. So I'm glad that we're connected.
It's part of what drew me to you.
Oh, I'm told I'm friendly and gregarious at times. Well, I'm glad to be connected to you. And yeah, I also want to change the world. So I'm glad to have you with me.
Glad to be with you.
Go away.
Poof.
You gotta poof every time now, Justin.
Yep.
I'll say it.
So I'll stand back up and kind of like dust myself off a little bit, look at my hand, be kind of weirded out by it, and then I'll scoot the boxes back to where they were, set the mops back up, and then I'll open the door.
I have my tail in my hand, and like a finger, like a claw in my mouth, like biting it. It's trying really hard to listen after you yelped.
This is not what it looks like.
What does it look like?
I don't know.
Indeed.
What does it look like to you? It's not that.
I was just curious as like about your new sword, and I saw you go in this closet, so I was listening. And I was gonna go away before you found me, and then I heard you sounded like you got hurt.
Oh, yeah, it's okay.
Something in there?
Well, the sword that Simeon gave me, it's actually, and I'll like hold my hand out and have it. Justin?
It's empty. Oh, okay. Sorry. I was gonna say it's empty until you want it.
Yeah, I hold out my hand to summon it.
Yeah, and it just after a moment's time, it just appears. The familiar now weight in your hand just suddenly there.
It can go away. That's really cool. And I found out that the edge is really, really sharp. So I kind of cut myself a little bit.
You went into the closet to poke it to make sure it's sharp.
I'll I'll open my hand and I'll think go away. Or like, I'll try to think of a better way to say it. Like, I'll open my hand and be like, dismiss? Poofs away, and I'll say, yeah, I wanted to kind of figure it out. It's a magical sword, and it talks a little bit, but swords do that, I think, sometimes.
Yeah. I noticed that. I was wondering if you were going to mention it, but yeah, whenever you want to talk to me about your talking sword, you can feel free. I'm here whenever you need me, Jack.
Okay.
And then I'll walk away.
You still holding your tail and like with the claw in your mouth, or?
No.
All right. Well, I'll kind of like straighten myself up and take a deep breath and make my way out. Catch up with everybody else. And just for sake of time, because I've already used enough time, in the evenings when I go to practice swordsmanship, I'm definitely using that sword to get familiar with it.
I would say for Myetharia and Rev, who would probably be looking or paying attention potentially, it is fairly clear that his swordsmanship, while still clumsy, has improved.
Take note of it, but I won't say anything.
I think the first night, it'll just be with the sword, but then maybe in like the late afternoon of the next day, I'll come back wearing legit armor, like a breastplate, and maybe some greaves or something. Nah, not greaves. That's dead. They didn't go with it. And I'll like try to play it off like I'm not wearing armor, and then that night I'll practice more swordsmanship.
One weird thing happens while he's doing this once, Myetharia, if you're kind of keeping notes and watching a little bit. One time when he's practicing his swordsmanship, he training with like a training dummy or something or like hitting like a hay bale or something like this for fun. And a moment after
I would practice with him because I'd offered to before. So if he'll still take me up on that, I'll practice with him.
Yeah, I'm not trying to necessarily hide anything. I'm just not trying to be super open about it either.
Okay.
She would ask. She would ask.
A moment after hitting you hitting you, but like clashing swords, things like this. you guys kind of separate for a moment to take a breather, take a moment, and as you do so, this deafening like clap just suddenly happens and thuds into you, resounding enough that it actually staggers you.
Okay.
And even Jack himself, I would imagine, is looking kind of sheepishly, like, oh, when it happens.
Is it
She'll
audible?
just kind of
It is audible.
mumble a little bit, enough that he could hear, but not like super loud. Well, that's new, and then just keep going.
Yeah. It is.
Peaceful.
I want to look at your character sheet.
No. No, you look, I don't care. All right, sorry guys, I used a lot of time there.
What happens when you introduce a sentient weapon to a character out of nowhere? Well, the next day, probably in the evening time, the day before you guys are set to leave, Bryn, your armor would be finished and come in for fitting, where they would have you come by, make sure everything fits nicely, make a couple small adjustments, things like this. Before the end of the night, you can take that nice Remoraz plate with under chain from your father's chainmail, and keep that for yourself going forward.
Nice.
Nice.
They augmented it so that it's got the chainmail underneath it and kind of attached to it, but not in a way that couldn't be removed in the future.
Nice.
I like it.
Does it fit you better?
Oh, my chain
It already
number,
did.
because Rayland or
Okay.
Rev had fixed it.
It was actually Rayland that fixed it.
Was Rayland.
Different
It's gonna
person.
make it real annoying.
Depends on how you think about it, I guess.
It depends on your perspective. Although it's funny, Rev might even agree that it was Rayland. I don't know.
Yeah.
Possible.
No, I don't know. Never mind. Who knows?
Who knows? The next day, unless there's anything else that you guys would like to do.
I was just gonna share the picture of my sword, but I will just put it in general. No one needs to comment on it. We can continue.
Everybody tell me I'm cool.
I actually put a little bit of work into it.
You designed it?
No.
Heck no. You found it, though.
Continue, Justin. I'm sorry. I'm not trying to derail you.
Yeah, you're fine. The next day, early in the next day, before noon, you guys get summoned back towards Lyceum by Simeon. And upon arriving, there is a small group waiting for you there. As he had said, Simeon arranged with Sheena Larkins, the leader of the Wayfarer Cirque, in order to arrange for teleportation. And while you guys are approaching, she's kind of chatting or talking with Simeon about how this is going to work. And you kind of overhear a little bit of the discussions where she says, not willing to risk teleporting somewhere I've only seen via scrying. Yenqing is the closest that I can get. It's a place that I am very familiar with. And Simeon looks disappointed, but accepting of it. It's alright. Alright, that is alright. I guess a couple of days here or there is not going to end the world. And then she turns towards you and says, well, looking forward to this?
Not really.
Good.
It's good to
I
see
am
you
too.
again, Miss Larkins.
You as well.
Sorry, Larkin.
And you as well, Winry.
What happens if you don't get the location completely correct?
Well, the less familiar you are with the location you're going, the more likely there is there to be a mishap. So that is why I don't want to go somewhere that I've only seen. I want to go somewhere that I know.
A mishap.
I'm sure we'll only miss one or
Yes.
two names.
Either that or you'll end up somewhere completely different.
Noses, ears, tails.
You're
Tails
not attached to
especially.
that tail, are you?
More like it's attached to her.
Who wouldn't be?
I think I'd rather not get burned to a crisp, personally.
We have potions, right? I heard we were going to be given healing potions.
Yes. So we've got a few things for you. And she kind of points around the room initially. Some of you might, or especially Jack, might recognize some of the people who are around the room are some of the priests of the various groups that are now with the pantheistic temple, as it's called. Kind of the head priests. And she kind of gestures to them with her head and says, "These ones will be providing everyone with a death ward." Kind of
Yikes.
gives a little smile, says, "Just in case. Hopefully we don't need it, but
Pick spells, huh?
hate to be wrong, so that way, a little bit of safety for everyone. Beyond that," and she kind of gestures next towards Simeon. Simeon kind of takes out this small bag and gives each of you one healing potion. Says, "I'm sorry, these are only the standard versions, but they will be sufficient should they be required."
Do the job.
And then from the second set, he hands everyone a potion of fire resistance as well. It says, "It is the least that we can do."
Good. I was hoping we would have some of that too.
We need to take that
Right.
before we zap off out of here.
That would be preferable, I believe. Though I'd leave it in your hands.
Yeah, I'll take it.
Well, let's get to it. Tell like the present.
Oh. Indeed.
And the last one that comes up then is Three Weeping Ravens, who also has met you here. And he takes his allotted doses as well, prepared for whatever is to come. He kind of is silent on the side, just following what he is being told at this time. Well,
Is he
Any-
handed? He's handed a potion. Three Weeping Ravens is.
Mhm.
I'll say, sorry, just 1 second, and I'll kind of like walk up to Three Weeping Ravens and kind of like try to. I don't want to say like take his arm necessarily, but trying to like take him to the side and say, very, very warm greetings. I know we've met before, but it's good to see you again. I feel obligated to let you know that the last person that left with us from Seaquen was brutally tortured and murdered. And I know that you have duties here, and I'm sure we'll get by where we're going. I just don't want the same thing to happen to you. The last man that it happened to was a very good man.
I am not worried. I can handle myself.
Okay. Well then,
Thank
we're
you
glad to
for
have you
the
along.
concern.
Kind of sounded like we tortured and murdered him, but
I got the gist of it.
I'll start to walk away and I'll double back and be like, just to be clear, it wasn't us that did it. It was it was the Regessians, but
Well,
that's it.
you have a little bit of a walk ahead of you, I hate to tell you. You need to get outside the range of the teleportation beacon before you're able to leave. I'm sure that you will recall what happened previously.
Indeed.
Good news is, the death wards last for 8 hours, so you've got time. Rayland, Rev, I'm gonna say that you didn't actually quaff the potion just yet, just in
of
case
course.
kind of thing, but
Of course.
because I didn't
To
specify
not
it beforehand.
be a dick.
But the next few hours then are spent walking back out in the direction that you guys came in, basically, back out towards the swamp. You have to go out. The Sheena will say that from their testings, they've learned that you have to go out about 10 miles before you are outside the range of the beacon. It's a little bit less because the beacon is a little ways out from the center of Seaquen, so it's more like 8 miles, maybe, give or take. But they go out the full 10 miles just to be safe. Make sure that you're far enough away that you're not going to get grabbed by it. She also says Simeon could have taken the beacon down, gotten rid of it, but feels like it is useful as a defense mechanism. So you can't teleport out, they can't teleport in either, so keeps us a little bit safer. Plus, it's a trap, just in case.
Trap.
It's a trap. On the way out then, you guys make it out there, 10 miles out. It's starting to get to be dusk by this point in time, kind of getting to be later in the evening. I hadn't given a specific time, but Sheena will inform you that night is actually useful, as the burning sky effect, as they have dubbed it, is less prevalent at night than it is during the day. While it's not completely gone, it is slightly less strong. They don't know why. Might be attached to the sun somehow, but that is what it is.
Wonder
Well,
I wonder if it has anything to do with the moon and stars.
I'm
not
sorry
listening.
for
She's
anyone
not
who
listening
had
to
to experiment with that to figure that out.
Got it.
Been a bit of a rough go, to be fair, but it's been learning, been interesting, and it is what we do. Goofy puppy. Well, shall we be about it then? She kind of signals for everyone, herself included, to take their potions.
Down 'em.
Out of my inventory.
Assuming that everyone does, you didn't have to add it to your inventory.
I already did.
Yes.
Well, remove it from your inventory if you're going to take it.
Boy, great time to mention this. I also needed to. I don't have any potions. Do any of you guys?
I have a couple.
I have a potion of greater healing, I believe.
What do you need a potion for? Am I not good enough?
I just feel like we should probably have some. I'll do this outside of game, but I also needed to copy down some. Oh, I do have potions of healing. Never mind.
Yeah, I have a ton of potion of healing.
Okay.
If anybody needs any, just let me know. I'll give you some.
I think I have 2. I'm okay. I also need to copy down some stuff into my my book, so we can do that outside of the game.
Okay. Well, after taking their potions, feeling the death ward still intact, you guys group up together, and Sheena Larkins casts the requisite spell to teleport the lot of you a long distance. A long enough distance that as soon as your vision like blanks, so to speak, it doesn't go to black. It goes to red. It goes to this red-orange flame feel, and you can feel this burn just going through every inch of you. Every part of you is on fire. And it lasts.
Oh, gosh.
For like 30 seconds, you can feel just like, it almost feels like skin just getting peeled back, like stepping in front of like an open flame and throwing yourself into the fires. Everyone takes 71 points of fire damage. That is after resistance.
How is
That
everybody?
checks out.
After resistance?
That's after resistance.
That
Oh, I'm
checks out.
down.
Yeah. Yeah, we're all down, but we have
Probably
death
knocks
ward.
a lot
I
of
am
you
not
down,
down. I'm
but not quite
down.
all probably. But everyone who does
Speak for yourself.
hit
Barely
0
down.
actually hits 1 because death ward procs immediately.
Right.
So 1.
Healing potion.
Whew. That's rough.
When the fire clears from your vision and you can sense or see things once more, you find yourselves inside a cage. with a white pillar 8 feet tall that looks strikingly similar to the
bitch!
one the heroes found in
Oh
the
my
steam
God.
tunnels under Seaquen. Atop 4 surrounding towers are archers, all pointing arrows at you. A woman on one tower shouts down, "Identify yourself or die!"
We're the protectors of the pass.
As soon as
It
you guys
means
start
anything.
beginning to say something, Sheena shouts, "Don't attack!" Looking more at you guys than at the enemies around.
1 hit point each. I don't think we're attacking.
It is a 20-foot wide cage that has been, with bars also for the ceiling, that has been kind of suspended. There's also, like I said, 4 20-foot high square towers that surround it, and you appear to be in the middle of what looks like some sort of military barracks almost.
Are we like smoking? I imagine we're all kind of like
A little bit,
smoking
yeah.
and
It's like a
like
seared feel to everyone.
we're all
Yes.
kind of like doubled over and like hunched over. Some of us
I'm
are
on the
our
ground.
on our knees, or like some of us might be on our back, like laying down, and it's just like
Fetal
smoke.
position.
Yeah, like I said before, long time ago, the latest couriers, before all this was experimented with, if you remember right, arrived just in a fiery ball of death, basically, once this effect started out of nowhere. So you guys are in a similar state of fiery and burned up, but alive.
Not death.
Not dead yet.
Yes,
Yeah, I'll
exactly.
yell
I'm
out.
not dead yet.
I'll yell out, "We're the protectors of the pass," if that means anything.
Can't say it does, but either way.
Don't lie.
Who do we have the pleasure of being held captive by?
This stern, militant-looking woman kind of steps forward from the group, says, "My name is Fao Lu Pan. Pays to be cautious in war. But I am to bring you before our Lord, if you would so choose to follow."
What was her name? One more time.
Fao Lu Pan.
Okay. Gonna need
Who
to.
exactly
I
is your
am.
lord?
Need to find the right group chat.
Ooh, got it right. Nope, I didn't.
Nice.
No, you didn't.
I didn't. But he's an O instead of a U.
Our Lord is the ruler of Astalin, the great Kagan, Lord Oman Daman. Had that one prepped for copy paste before you could even ask.
Good move.
Wonderful.
Just for my notes, we would have talked more detailed. Where did she teleport us to? Where are we? Or what was our target? How about that?
Your target
to-
was Yen Qing, it's called. I'll paste that too. And I'll write afterwards city for you.
You post? Can you like ping it on the map here, if you don't mind?
Yeah. It would be roughly here on the
Yeah.
map.
Okay.
Just below the A on Astalin.
Mm-hmm.
We're still kind of far from where we need to be.
That was what the argument was about that you guys kind of
Ah.
stepped into in case you were
Yeah.
curious. It says
Did we reach our intended city, or are we someplace else?
Sheena kind of looks around. Looks like Yen Qing, though not where I was intending. It was supposed to be a private garden. Belonged to an old family friend.
Seems like they have the same sort of protection.
Same
that.
setup as in the dungeons, yep.
The call comes out, says, "Well, set down your weapons. You can come with me. Promise, if you do not instigate a fight, all your gear will be returned, and you'll be free to leave within the day."
We're
I'll
all
look
like
at the others.
limping and
Yeah, I'm still on the
like
ground.
barely standing up.
I guess we'll Yeah, I guess we'll put our weapons down.
Sorry, as I'm placing my weapons down, are you perfectly fine with us healing ourselves a bit? We're a bit worn from the fire.
He smiles a little bit.
Warm.
Worn,
The heat.
worn, not warm.
Oh, I thought you said warm.
worn.
I like warm also.
I like warm. I'm gonna edit this part out because I think that's what everyone else heard too.
Says,
Huh.
once we have your weapons, yes, no worries. As you guys kind of all set the weapons down, things like this, the cage gets slowly lowered and set down onto what looks like, or like against a bridge, basically. And the front door gets opened. A couple people come shuffling in quickly to scoop up the weapons, gather them all together, things like this. And then you can feel free to, with anything that remains, you can feel free to heal yourselves if you'd like to. You're under a little bit of a watchful gaze of people, though, as you do so, just in case.
Just 2d4 plus 2?
If you just take the healing potion, yes.
Don't do that. Don't do that. Hang on.
Yeah, hold on. Sorry.
Don't do that.
She says, be careful. We are taking the spell components, but you may cast a spell as long as we can watch.
Dirtier when you watch.
We will stop any spell that is not healing.
So I was prepping my spells. That's why I was not focused, because gotta do that. It's been a couple days here. I could do.
I was just gonna drop a few healing words on people, but
I have mask your wounds now.
oh, do that. Shit, you do?
I would do it, yeah.
Damn.
All right. Oh.
Damn, meteorite.
9th level,
Yeah.
baby.
5th level.
5th level.
5th.
Oh, yes,
Fifth level
but we're
spell.
level 9. We're
Suddenly
level
doesn't-
9 now, baby.
Oh, I
is what
see,
I
I see.
meant.
All right.
I know it's not a 9th level spell. It better not be.
8.
Justin's just handing those out now.
Just for funsies.
You
That
get a
was
nice
Steph's
little
new
spell,
feat.
and you get a nice
That
little
was
spell.
Steph's new feat, was that she gets 1 level 9 spell.
Oh, not bad. 18 to everybody.
Wow.
Nice.
18.
After you cast it, under close watch,
1-8.
another man walks up, kind of hands out to you and Jack and Winry, actually, because you probably have a spell pouch, component pouch as well. Kind of says, your components too, please.
I'll just do
Give
a
him
quick
my
second
wand.
one on myself. Just
Sure.
be extra.
I'll hand it over.
I'll give him my wand, but I'm keeping my diviner.
Does he
I
take
think mine is
does
just
he
my
take my
apple.
poisons?
He does not have to take your poisons, I guess. I'm fine with that. Your little satchel, it just looks like a bag. They're not that worried about it.
Mine is just my apple pie crust, I think.
Maybe. That's fine. Whatever you have.
you hand it over. You like hold it up. It's like you hold
Don't
it like
eat it.
At this point, there's got to be like a little bit of mold on it, and
Yeah.
Getting a little old. I need to get a new one.
Well,
All
once you
need is,
hand
like,
over everything,
you drop it into their hand, and it just turns into 1,000 crumbs.
you ruined.
Breeze takes it away.
Once you submit, though, you are escorted to a small villa at the edge of the barracks.
Oh, what?
It is villa. Would you like me to say villa?
Such a dick.
Listen, no, I wasn't being a dick. I didn't know what a via was, and I wanted clarification. Now I'm kind of digging a hole. I wasn't trying to be mean. Anyway, we go there.
I just want to make sure that it's definitely villa.
I don't know about actually.
Oh, it might not be. It might be villa.
I think it's Italian.
You're Italian.
I'm not.
Oh my gosh! Please.
It's
It
not
is-
a big deal, guys.
It is Italian. That's true.
Oh, it depends. It's also Spanish. So
Yeah.
Either
Oh,
or,
Spanish
both
would
are
be
right.
I honestly was not trying to correct you.
It
didn't
is
know.
exquisitely decorated and guarded by dozens of silent, still watchmen who are almost invisible in the night. Each of them holding what appears to be a blood-red falchion. There you go, falchion for everybody.
Hey.
Your guard, your escort here, quietly explains to you that you are very lucky to have arrived when you did, for my lord was set to leave in the morning.
And just for clarification, are we in like a campsite or are we in a city? Like what's the story?
You're in like a city.
Okay. Very cool.
Fairly big city, in fact. Well, it calls it a small city, I guess, technically.
Well,
but of a hand, like
city.
tens of
Out of
thousands.
town.
So yeah, where was your lord going? If you don't mind me asking.
I do.
Oh, fair enough. Well, I commend you for keeping tight-lipped on important information. Good on you.
You're brought to a soft, comfortable-looking room with dozens of plush beds and beautiful veils pulled away to make a conference space. The air is strong with incense, and the ceiling is a massive, polished bronze mirror. Yes, a mirror. Standing in the center of the room. Sorry, I lost myself.
Sorry.
Is a tall, dark-haired young man. Looks barely 25 years old, if you had to guess. Dressed in regal garb with red and silver gemstone patterns and a cut similar to a warrior's uniform. The man's short, dark hair is slicked back. Something about his face is strange, making his actual race hard to place. He has the long, slender eyebrows and faintly pointed ears of an elf, a small, almost cat-like nose, and a strong brow and thick chin like a half-orc.
He looks like a Gith, and it's giving me flashbacks.
Your guide,
don't trust this guy.
Faolupan, gives a bow, a reverent bow, then straightens, but keeping her head downwards, downcast. Says, I present to you the ruler of Astalin, the great Kagan, my lord Onamdaman. He nods once to your escort, who is immediately dismissed without a word, and then frowns. Says, I apologize for my appearance. The hour is late, so let us keep this brief.
Of course. Very warm greetings.
Wait, why is he apologizing for his appearance?
You tell me.
You have a very nice nose, Lord. Sure.
Kind of searches you a little bit when you say this. Says,
While he's
Thank you.
searching, I'll say, well, very warm greetings. We are the protectors of the past, and it's an honor to meet you, sir.
Likewise, I am sure. As she introduced me, I am the great Kagan Onmandaman. I rule here in Ostalin.
Listen, I feel like there was something in the PC handbook about this. What is he supposed to be like related somehow to Colton?
No.
Oh, okay. Am I thinking of maybe Sindare or something? There's like one of these countries has a kind of like some shenanigans with people who are like related to Colton, I thought, but maybe I'm wrong about
I'll have to
that.
go look back at what you're talking about.
It's okay. It's all good. What would we know about Omen Daman? He's a world figure. I'm sure we've heard of him.
You can make a history check when I say that.
Yeah, I as well.
Sure.
19, which makes a lot of sense considering I am from Ostalin.
Hey.
12.
I
Never paid attention in history class.
hate them both. 23.
So there's a few things that you could probably know. The first being the Kagan, as he is called. This whole kingdom here of Ostalin was, I don't want to say recently, but recently maybe in Elvish terms, taken over by people from across the sea. This whole ruling group was not here previous to that, maybe in the last 100 years or so, 150 years. His father, the Kagan now, his father was the one who pioneered this, I don't want to call it an invasion, but this takeover. Some other things that you might know or have heard would be that Onam Daman had a little bit of a penchant for changing his appearance, I guess we could say, in terms of not that he could not like a changeling or something like this, that he could change it on demand, but that he was slowly trying to change how he looked.
Oh, Michael Jackson style?
Yes, you could say that. It's a fair analogy. And it was speculated on reasons. Nothing is quite clear, but there's some weakness that he saw in his own skin, so to speak.
Well, we apologize for our sudden arrival, but we have business here in Ostalin.
No. I have heard of you, actually. I have.
Oh.
I see this as providence, not as a concern. You see, I was curious about the status of Seaquen and of this growing resistance. That is a terrible accent. It's growing resistance.
No, go with it. Go with it. It was great.
I didn't want
love
the
that.
resistance. I didn't like that. Was really the big thing. As well. You see, I have offers on hand. Been reached out to by both sides of this. By Seaquen and by Regacia. And I have been considering where my lot will lie.
Well, do
What
we
is
have
your
stories to tell you?
Well,
I hate how my instant reaction was like, oh, it's terrible. They were completely destroyed. They're at each other's throats.
I know, I was kind of actually thinking the same thing. Yeah. I was like, if we lie to him, does that help him?
Yeah. You're just
What
still
can-
getting that?
what can you tell me about, not necessarily just Seaquen, but about what you are doing here in my country?
We had heard that the Monastery of the Two Winds is potentially under attack. And as our friend Winry originates from there, at least from that area, we felt it was our obligation to see what we could do to help. That's what we try to do, is save lives and stop the war in any way we can.
He looks concerned for a brief moment when you talked about the monastery being under attack. And then when you mention Winry from being around the area, he says, which side of the mountains do you hail from? Are you part of my kingdom?
Curiously typing.
I just saw her head snap to her computer. Oh shit!
I'll let you know. You haven't decided anything here. You can feel free to say whatever the heck you want.
Flip a coin.
I believe I am. My family lives in the mountains near the monastery, and I believe it is on your side.
One of mine returned home at last. Providence indeed. He kind of walks towards you a little bit, and he kind of reaches, like offering his hand as though upturned, like he wants you to put your hand in his.
I will.
And kind of reaches with his other hand and kind of pets the top of your hand a little bit, kind of feeling your fur. Says, You know, I will say, never had a tabaxi in my harem.
Your harem?
Yes. What about it? I'm not offering. Don't worry. Don't be surprised. No, excuse me. It was merely interest. Did not realize that I had more interesting specimens within.
Red in the
Not
back.
specimens. That's a terrible word. Interesting women within my kingdom.
He's like, sorry, I'm just really horny right now.
I'm like, why would he even mention
My
it?
lord. My lord, I'm afraid I'm busy with more
I apologize.
important matters, but I
He
will-
takes his hands back. I apologize. I let my mind wander. I am tired, as I have said. It is quite late. I apologize for my rudeness. He turns back towards Jack, like putting it out of his mind almost. Says, well, my good friend, respected friend, Pylus, is head of the monastery. One of the heads of the monastery, technically. But he has my trust. And as such, if you are heading up there, I have a offer for you.
Listening.
If my friend approves you, and he tells me that you are honorable and worthy, I will pledge Ostalin to your fight.
Okay.
We'll do our best to get him
But-
on our side then.
This idea of the monastery being in peril is good joke. Pylus is mighty mage. No mere Regessian thugs could be a threat to him.
We
Well, I'm
have
glad to hear
a
you're
lot with you,
confident.
which is untrue.
We
We've-
basically said the same thing.
We had experience in Dassen of Regressians using quite underhanded tactics and lies and deceptions to manipulate people at their core level. They even reached up to the king. So please be wary of your interactions with them. Protect yourself.
They also
Keep
tortured
this-
and murdered a couple friends of ours.
I apologize for the connections lost, but war will do that, unfortunately.
Indeed.
Regardless,
We'll
I will be
rectify it.
careful. Do not worry for me. Well, I am tired. I am also convinced you do not mean me harm. As such, if you would like, and he looks towards Jack and Rev explicitly, says, I would offer you an evening, if you would like.
One.
What'd you say? Of a what? An evening with my harem, I believe I was told. It's up to you. You can have your choice.
Jack, very red. If it's no slight to you, Lord Kagan, we'll probably just stay with our friends this evening.
No requirement,
said-
of course.
As I said, previous friends of ours had been captured and tortured and murdered and other horrible things. So we like to keep an eye on each other as much as possible.
Yeah, maybe another time.
Requirements. Of course. Another time. He kind of like stomps one of his booted heels quickly. Makes like this click thud, kind of like a noise, like kukadum. And the door behind you immediately opens, and you see the same woman, steps back within and says, "If you will excuse the Kagan, it is late. It is time for you to depart. Come with me, please."
Have a
turn step and leave.
have a good evening with your harem, Lord
Thank you for
Kagan.
seeing.
Lovely to meet you.
He has already turned and is not really listening to the platitudes at the end.
I'm like,
As you guys leave and getting out from the kind of military barracks, pick back up 3 Weeping Ravens and Sheena, especially Sheena, who kind of was left behind during this. You guys all get brought outside of the compound, kind of let loose within Yangqing, and returned all of your gear, all of your items, spell components, weapons, etc., and told basically, you are free to go. Go about your business, this sort of thing. Sheena spends the next few minutes.
That's all I was gonna say.
What did she say?
Sheena, I wasn't sure either. What?
I just said, well, now we really have to prove ourselves.
we will.
Sheena spends the next few moments kind of getting her bearings and realizes that they're only, a quarter mile, something like this, handful of streets away, basically, from the place where she was trying to get to. And so you guys head that direction, and you find Sheena's friend.
As we go along, I will mention something to the fact of as a kid, I remember hearing about him. He's been the Kagan for a while, right?
I'm
Sounds
trying
like
to
no,
remember
right?
when it happened.
Fairly
Don't have it
recently is
right
what I
in
thought.
front of myself. I believe it is relatively recently, but I don't know what the relative is off the top of my head.
I mean, in the last 20 years.
Regardless, you would have probably heard about this guy, even if he wasn't the king at the time.
I did just read the player's handbook, and I feel like I shouldn't have.
No, you're fine to have.
Same.
That's
I
all
did within the
information we're
last
allowed to have.
week.
I just couldn't remember how recent it was, if it says in
It
here.
doesn't say. It doesn't.
While he's looking it up,
I was
just not
thinking
looking
it
for his
was
info.
within the last 3 years or so. 3 to 5 years.
Okay.
But you still probably heard about him.
Yeah, I would
Yeah.
imagine.
He's a lot more pathetic than I thought he would be.
Actually, he seemed rather down to earth to me. It's a good sign.
Kind of a weirdo, actually.
Kind of a weirdo.
Oh, definitely.
Something
All
off
rulers
about
are
him.
weirdos. I think so.
Fair.
Yeah, it's not. I don't know. But I'm sure my parents and the village back home. Well, let's just say there's no lost love for the Kagans in any case.
Interesting.
Away from your home.
But how far away are we?
Yeah.
Oh, did you ask me that question?
Yeah.
Oh, let me see. Let's say I'll ping it on the map.
Yeah, I was roughly
Okay.
placing you somewhere along there.
Yeah. This
that-
is the River El Remlin, by the way.
If you wanted.
Makes sense.
Within 100 miles.
So I'll kind of without being too loud about it, since I think we're being escorted, I'll say, and
You
by
got kicked out. You can talk as much as you want now.
but we're with Sheena, right? Like Sheena's walking. us
Sheena's still
through.
there, yes.
Yeah. So I don't know how much Rev wants this spread, but I'll kind of quiet-ish say, and by I don't mean to press just new information, but by your parents you mean Rayland's parents, right?
Yeah, I suppose so.
That must be a strange feeling.
Yeah, I try not to think about it too much. As far as I'm concerned, they're still my parents. Although, yeah, I suppose. I'm literally letting it trail off. I don't know.
Yeah, fair enough. I'm not gonna pick it up.
Well, Sheena leads you then to her friend's place. The garden was just like the backyard basically of the place. And inside it's a relatively normal house, so it's a little bit bigger than you might have initially considered for some places. The rest of the city as well is pretty opulent, it appears. It is a flat city, it's a dry city built in a flat valley. But the city itself is very opulent. It doesn't seem like, just as a quick look around, even at night here, that there's really any farmland or anything like this around. But there are massive aqueducts that stretch between multi-storied homes that kind of water the city as a whole, basically. Feed the water to the city. So everything's a little bit opulent, despite the difficulty it seems like they would probably have feeding everyone. Things like this. When you get there, you are allowed, and the plan was, just for your information, for you guys to rest there for the night, and in the morning, get on the road. 3 Weeping Ravens will recommend, but not require, that you guys acquire mounts when you guys set out, and he will also plan to at least partially fund them for you. In fact, between him and Sheena, you don't have to worry about it. But yeah, you're all set.
I've got mine. Ish. For an hour. Actually, now I think
Floating
about
disc.
it. No, I've got a phantom steed.
Oh.
But I think it only lasts an hour, so it's not that useful.
Good idea to have something non-magical by our side.
Sure. The night passes without any significant incident, as long as you guys wouldn't like to do anything. We'll
still do our trade-off where one of us, Myetharia or I, transes, and then we switch.
Yep.
And so then just, again, maybe go out into this garden during my watch and practice with the sword.
Sure. And in the morning, you're led out to near the edge of the city, kind of heading that direction with Sheena. And she helps to acquire you guys all, if you would like, all of you. Bryn, I'll leave that up to you. But you can all acquire horses if you'd like to, mounts to head off in the direction of the monastery.
Do that.
Do we want? Go ahead.
Do we need to pay anything for that?
You don't need to. It is covered for you.
Oh, okay.
Do we
Bryn
want?
Bryn needs to fly around to Takashi.
Yeah. Do we want me in the sky, or I'm okay with that.
Yeah, you can fly low if we need to talk.
Yeah.
You should totally be on Tabaxi.
Okay, I'll do it.
Okay. Well, Sheena comes with you guys for the first 10 miles out of the city. And then, with kind of a wish of good luck and a thanks for, dealing with everything and being able to, meet the Kagan and all this sort of thing, she kind of gets ready, braces herself, takes the requisite defenses, and teleports herself back.
So does she just teleport? Like, does teleportation? We weren't on the ship or anything?
Correct. She did it herself,
okay.
Yes.
Gotcha. I was like, how did that work if the ship's 10 miles out, but we got stuck in the cage? We all would have gotten smashed by the ship.
So wait, in your head canon, we were all flying here on the ship?
Yeah.
I mean, that's cool.
Fair. No, I get it. I get it. Yeah, the Wayfarers not just are able to teleport with the ship, they also teleport themselves and people. And once Sheena leaves and is gone, you and 3 Weeping Ravens have about a day and a half, give or take, journey north from there to the monastery. On the way, he kind of talks a little bit. He starts talking with you guys, just to open up a little bit. He says, I'm sure that you are curious about my previous encounters and such with this group. Sorry, I'm letting the accent bleed a little bit because I am not very good.
You're good.
I will say, I had very little interaction with them. But my people came here, across the mountains, from Sindar to Ostalin, in order to reach Seaquen. As such, I have met with, or had dealings with, monks of the Two Winds. I have not met either of, I've met, the leaders of the monastery, though they quickly dismissed us. As I had said, they refused our plea, sanctuary, though they were not hostile. They just moved us along.
Perhaps they thought you were too much of a risk to harbor.
I do believe so. They did not want to attract the attention of the Regessians at the time. We can understand. We have long been persecuted. Or at least long been moving. Ever since being driven from our home, we have spent decades on the move.
Remind me.
I'm sorry
I know
that you. Go ahead. Okay, mine won't go anywhere. I was just gonna say, I'm sorry that your people have been treated that way, but I sure hope that you feel as though you found some footing in Seaquen. I know that. Well, I guess I've been there just about as long as you have. I was gonna say we're happy to have you, but the more
glad that we are able to find
you
peace.
talk now.
The more the merrier.
That's kind of where I was going.
Happy that we are able to find peace there. Yes, a place to rest.
Remind me, where is your original home?
Shahalesti.
Original temple was in northern Shahalesti, where a tragedy drove us from our home. We resided in Sindar for a few decades before being forced to make our way by the Regessian army. From there, we made it through to Ostalin before arriving at Seaquen after hearing of the amnesty.
For the record, Shahalesti has never been good at taking care of their own people.
Yes. Especially not forgive me. Especially not those of your descent.
Non-elves, you mean?
Kind of, I want to call it a blush, but he just kind of like lower his head and nod a little bit, almost shamefully.
No offense taken.
It's part of the reason why I decided to live in Gate Pass was no one in Gate Pass felt shunned. Everyone felt welcome.
Say the same.
They were afraid of us, I think, and our abilities.
Your abilities?
Our order was able to do what is called soul tapping. You could
What's that?
experience the essence of other beings and their memories. Very powerful members of our order were able to take on traits and power from the soul that they tapped.
Did Rain Before Storm have any of this stuff going on?
I didn't tell
I'm
them
hearing
about
of
it at all.
First time hearing about it.
It required what is called a soul gem. The essence of a person's being.
A soul gem
That sounds.
traps. Is there a soul trapped in a soul gem?
Necessarily trapped, but yes. Each gem is unique to the one who gave it.
I mean, I don't think I'd want my soul to be stuck in a gem. What's left of it anyway.
I understand, but in that way, you could have purpose beyond your life.
Mhm.
Your
So-
aptitudes, abilities, skills, knowledge could all serve greater purpose.
You're saying
You
people do
guys-
this willingly?
Yes,
And then you guys practicing soul tapping, then you use that information to what is your goals with the knowledge you gain from other souls?
anything. Depended on the situation. It was not malicious.
It's fascinating.
It's kind
Powerful. Perhaps
of
too
beautiful
powerful.
too. The entire lived experience of a person, instead of being lost to time, gets to live on and bring fruit to others' lives. Kind of poetic.
Sure, not all are worth it.
He kind of smiles at that, actually. Laughs a little bit. Yes. Everyone has value.
Not everyone.
You do not believe
Well-
that the power and strength of even one you hated could be used for good? Either way, that doesn't require an answer. It is
On behalf of Charlesty, I'm sorry you are no longer welcome.
it is gone now. Do not worry.
Lord
With our
Charlotte has a
temple-
habit of not liking things he does not understand.
Lord Shaladel understood,
Can't control.
unfortunately.
Or that what she can't control.
Yes. I
That's a
agree.
better way of putting it.
So, Bryn will. I will ask more questions about the soul tapping just because it's really interesting, but we don't have to get into like the nitty gritty of it. Just as we're traveling or sitting around the fire.
Okay. Well, the rest of the time, we can talk in chat if you'd like to. If you have any other questions for him like that are specific a little bit more, and I can try to answer a little bit. But beyond that, what he will remind you of is your mission. As you are headed to the monastery, is not just to prove yourself, but also to find out what happened to the party that was sent here originally.
That's right.
If you cared, he will tell you about the Band of the Badger, which was the group that was sent here previously.
We know them.
Oh.
We whooped their butts.
no!
Errol, Metrin, Klezmer, Shelton, and Misreth, or the group that was sent in this direction.
Ha!
And as such, that is the group that you are trying to locate. Wanted to get that out there because I hadn't mentioned it previously and no one questioned who you guys were looking for, so
Yeah.
thought I should
Was
get the
that
information
the
out.
Royale or the Badger people all the way back from the beginning?
In the Royale.
Yeah, they're the people that we fought and destroyed in the Royale.
Totally wiped the floor with.
We did.
And then gave Rayland a crappy tattoo.
Oh yeah, did one of them give me the tattoo?
I want to say it was
Oh,
one of them,
yeah.
but I might be wrong.
You also played darts with Misreth.
I did.
That's
Yes.
what it was now.
I gotta find the.
Goes Misreth at least. Oh no, it was Metrin, wasn't it? I think it was Metrin. Anyway, as you guys start to make your journey, the mountains slowly begin to rise up in the distance, snow covering them, clouds hiding their heights. Progress is slow still here, as the unnatural winter does still cling in this area. Heavy snow, ice abound, and although the passes remain clear, you guys are some of the only travelers on these roads, and become the only travelers as you get closer to the mountains.
So as
There's
we're kind of like going up these snowy paths, I'll look back to Winry and be like, "Do you miss this?"
I'm like bouncing through the snow.
It would be.
There's a few small
Okay.
villages that lie in the lower foothills, but once you get more than a couple miles into the mountains, you are effectively completely alone. And it is at this point, getting very close to the monastery, that we are going to call it an end for tonight's session.